Mike Trout. Mike Trout might be the greatest player of his generation. He hits for power, steals bases, plays elite defense, posts WAR totals that make Hall of Famers look like bench guys. And yet, he's barely a household name. No viral controversies, no primetime postseason heroics, just a quiet dominance buried under West Coast time zones and empty October schedules. He's a ghost of superstardom, too good to ignore, too invisible to crown. The numbers say legend, the narrative says maybe someday. And that's the curse of baseball's modern superstar. You can do everything right and still vanish in the shadows. Baseball has always had stars. Ruth, Mays, Jeter, but superstardom? That's something different. It's not just numbers, it's aura. It's late night interviews, cereal boxes, MVP chants in enemy stadiums. It's drama, expectation, weight, the kind that bends careers and builds myths. Some superstars win titles, others win headlines. Some are beloved, others get booed by their own fans. But they all have one thing in common: they're the story, whether they like it or not. Being a superstar in baseball means carrying the sport even when it doesn't carry you back. It means being dissected, doubted, elevated, torn down, sometimes all in the same week. But when it hits, it's magic. So here they are, the faces of the game, the villains, the demigods, the misunderstood. Every MLB superstar is worth explaining. It takes hours to craft each story, but only one click to help us keep going. Subscribing isn't just support, it's how we know this content matters. So if you want more breakdowns, more chaos, more baseball, step up and subscribe. Babe Ruth, start with the obvious. If superstardom was a religion, Babe Ruth didn't just write the gospel, he was the gospel. Before him, baseball was strategy, bunts, stolen bases, polite applause. Then came Ruth, and the game became thunder. He didn't just hit home runs, he changed why people came to the ballpark. He hit more homers than entire teams. He was a dominant pitcher who casually reinvented himself as the most feared slugger in sports history. And somehow both phases of his career felt legendary on their own. He drank too much, ate like a cartoon, stayed out all night, then showed up and launched baseballs into the next zip code. He didn't follow the rules. He rewrote them, then sold tickets to the rewrite. The media adored him, kids idolized him, pitchers feared him. He was the first true American sports celebrity, not just an athlete, but an event. Every swing had myth behind it, every stat felt like a dare to the future. He led the Yankees into the golden age, built the house that Ruth built, and he was the reason your grandpa loved baseball, the reason stadiums needed upper decks. He didn't just break records, he changed context, and he did it all without ever trying to be perfect. Because perfection wasn't the point, immortality was. If superstardom is about legacy, about showmanship, about redefining what a sport can look like, then Babe Ruth isn't just a superstar, he's the first one, the blueprint, the myth that still echoes. Jackie Robinson. If Ruth made baseball larger than life, Jackie Robinson made it morally relevant. He wasn't just a star, he was a symbol, a lightning rod, a mirror held up to America, and the country blinked. His batting average is a footnote, his speed, criminally underrated. But Jackie's value wasn't just in what he did, it was in what he represented. He broke the color barrier with history pressing down on every at-bat. Every spike to the shin, every beanball to the ribs, every death threat slipped under a hotel door. That was the cost of progress. He couldn't just play well, he had to be flawless every day, every inning. Because any crack, any slump would be weaponized, not just against him, but against everyone waiting behind the wall he broke. And he still excelled. He ran like a whisper and played with fury just under the surface. He didn't fight back with fists, though God knows he had reason to. He fought back by winning, by stealing bases, by taking the field again and again and again. Jackie Robinson didn't just change baseball, he forced it to grow up. That's superstardom with stakes and scars. Willie Mays. Some players were great hitters, others great fielders. Willie Mays was everything, all at once, every game, every play. No flaws, no weak spots, just greatness in motion. He didn't just play center field, he owned it, gliding through the grass like gravity didn't apply. He turned impossible catches into routine ones, and smiled while doing it. He played stickball in the streets of Birmingham, and then made the Polo Grounds look like the same playground, just with more cameras. The catch in the 1954 World Series, that wasn't even his best, just the one history got on film. He hit 660 home runs, stole Trecheno bases, won 12 Gold Gloves, made 24 All-Star games, and somehow, he's still underrated. No scandals, no politics, just production. He didn't break the color barrier. He normalized black excellence in a game still adjusting to it. He didn't just pass the eye test, he wrote it. Willie Mays was so good for so long, people stopped noticing, which might be the most Mays thing of all. Mickey Mantle. If Willie Mays was perfection, Mickey Mantle was potential. Unfiltered, tragic, and electric. He didn't just hit home runs, he launched them into the stratosphere. Upper deck, out of ballparks, tape measure shots that felt like tall tales, and somehow they were all true. He played on a knee that doctors said most people wouldn't walk on. Torn cartilage, chronic pain, and still he ran like a linebacker and swung like a thunderclap. The body was breaking, the swing never did. He was supposed to be the heir, Ruth's power, DiMaggio's grace, the next great Yankee, and for a time, he was. A switch-hitting comet with Oklahoma roots and New York pressure. He made Yankee Stadium look small, made legends look mortal. But the injuries came early, the drinking never left. He blew out his knee in his first World Series, chasing a fly ball next to DiMaggio, a cruel twist of fate that never fully healed. And yet, he played 18 seasons on that leg, hit 536 home runs, won 3 MVPs, captured 7 rings. He was a contradiction. Country quiet off the field, tabloid chaos behind the scenes. The golden boy with demons. The icon who didn't always want to be. Mantle smiled through pain, laughed through heartbreak, drank through expectations. He didn't pretend to be perfect, and maybe that's why fans loved him more. He was flawed, raw, real. The guy who looked like a god but reminded you he was human. There were nights he couldn't walk, then hit a 500-foot bomb the next day. There were seasons he should have shut it down, but didn't. Because he knew what he meant to people, even when he didn't always know what he meant to himself. If superstardom is about raw talent, crushing pressure, and the kind of aura that outshines even the statistics, then Mickey Mantle wasn't just a star. He was a Greek tragedy in pinstripes, a cautionary tale wrapped in brilliance, and somehow still a legend in bronze. He didn't define superstardom because he was perfect. He defined it because he wasn't and still became unforgettable. Hank Aaron. 755 home runs. It should echo louder in baseball history than it does. More than Ruth, more than Mays, more than anyone for over 3 decades. And he did it without fanfare, without steroids, without ever becoming a household brand. Just brilliance, persistence, and a quiet, steady greatness that never asked for attention, but demanded respect. Hank Aaron broke the most sacred record in American sports history, and while receiving death threats, he didn't just chase a number, he carried a burden. Every swing toward Ruth 714 came with hate mail, hundreds of them, racial slurs, threats on his life, on his family. The FBI got involved, security followed him. He couldn't stay in the same hotel as his teammates. He wasn't allowed to simply be great, he had to be unshakable. He couldn't slump, couldn't flinch, because any sign of weakness wouldn't just be used against him, it would be used against every black player who came after. And still, he hit. He hit through it, through the pressure, through the noise, through a world that cheered his stats and spat at his skin. He didn't flex, didn't celebrate, he let the numbers do the shouting. 3,771 hits, 2,297 RBIs, a .305 average, 25 All-Star appearances, and the all-time leader in total bases by a ridiculous margin. A record that might never fall, but even with those numbers, he was never treated like royalty. He didn't get the endorsements, the spotlight, the fairy tale send-offs. He got silence, he got resilience, he got history. Fans outside Atlanta never gave him the ovations he deserved. But inside the game, among players, coaches, historians, he was sacred. He wasn't a star, he was a standard. If superstardom is earning universal respect without ever asking for it, if it's enduring more than most people could imagine and still coming out on top, then Hank Aaron wasn't just a superstar. He was dignity personified, the game's moral compass, a monument in cleats. The quiet thunder baseball didn't deserve, but absolutely needed. Reggie Jackson. Reggie didn't just want the spotlight, he engineered it. Big moments, big swings, big mouth. He was the prototype for the modern sports icon, controversial, charismatic, and completely self-aware. When he stepped into the box, the air changed. The pitcher felt it. The fans felt it. Reggie loved it. He wasn't the most consistent hitter. He struck out more than anyone in MLB history at the time he retired. But when the lights got brightest, Reggie got loudest. And loud, he was fluent in it. In Game 6 of the 1977 World Series, he hit 3 home runs on 3 consecutive pitches from 3 different pitchers. Yankee Stadium didn't cheer. It erupted. Mr. October had arrived, nickname notarized. He clashed with managers, teammates, media, sometimes all 3 in the same week. He told the press he was the straw that stirred the drink. Thurman Munson didn't love that, neither did Billy Martin, but Reggie backed it up. He had his own candy bar, his own ego, his own mythology. He was a brand before sports knew what branding was. Reggie didn't chase perfection, he chased legacy, and caught it in the postseason when every at-bat felt like a movie trailer. In an era full of stars, Reggie was one of the few who demanded to be remembered. Not because he was flawless, but because he made sure you never forgot. If superstardom is about seizing the moment, turning chaos into canon, and being exactly who you say you are, then Reggie wasn't just a superstar, he was the template. Nolan Ryan. He walked the world and struck out the universe. Nolan Ryan wasn't a pitcher, he was a storm in cleats. He didn't finesse hitters, he challenged them. Fastballs that blurred, attitude that burned, and a mound presence that said, "Good luck." He played for 27 seasons, nearly 3 full decades of high-velocity warfare. He wasn't chasing wins or ERA titles, he was chasing fear, and he caught it. 5,714 strikeouts, 7 no-hitters, 12 one-hitters, and somehow he never won a Cy Young. He walked a ton of guys, threw a wild pitch or 2, or 277, but when he was on, he made the best hitters in the world look like they were swinging underwater. And it wasn't just the stats, it was the aura. He didn't pitch, he intimidated. He stared down lineups like he was daring them to try. Robin Ventura learned that the hard way in 1993. A 46-year-old Ryan plunked him, Ventura charged. Ryan put him in a headlock and reminded everyone that yes, Texas legends age, but they do not fade. Ryan pitched until he was nearly 47, still throwing in the high 90s, still terrifying. He wasn't smiling, wasn't charming, he didn't want the spotlight, he just wanted the ball. He didn't collect rings, he collected respect. From opponents, from teammates, from hitters who were grateful just to foul one off. If superstardom is about domination, intimidation, and building a legacy brick by brick over decades, then Nolan Ryan isn't just on the list, he's carved into the mountain. Ken Griffey Jr. He wore his hat backward and made it look like rebellion. Ken Griffey Jr. didn't just play baseball, he stylized it. The prettiest swing the sport has ever seen. It wasn't just effective, it was art, fluid, iconic, instantly imitated by kids on sandlots across the country. He was a walking highlight reel, climbing walls in center field, robbing home runs like it was personal, launching moonshots and home run derbies like he was toying with gravity. Every swing had rhythm, every catch had grace, every moment felt cooler because he was in it. He didn't cheat, didn't posture, didn't chase headlines. He was clean in the dirtiest era and never once looked like he belonged to anyone but himself. Griffey was the face of baseball in the 90s, not because he tried, but because it just made sense. He was the guy on the Wheaties box, the video game cover, the poster on your wall. Injury stole what could have been a Mount Rushmore career. His legs gave out, his prime got clipped, the counting stats dipped. But the aura, untouchable, it never left. He smiled through slumps, made backwards hats iconic. He made baseball feel fun, and that's not something stats can measure. He was joy wrapped in bat speed, swagger without ego, talent without scandal. If superstardom is about being the reason people watch, about making a generation fall in love with the game and think, I want to be that guy, then Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't just a superstar, he was the blueprint. Baseball never stops, neither do we. Subscribe if you're ready for all 9 innings and help us produce more content. Thanks, guys. Barry Bonds. There are villains, and then there's the final boss. Barry Bonds didn't just dominate baseball, he bent it. Pitchers stopped trying to beat him and started hoping he'd get bored. Managers walked him with the bases loaded. Opposing fans booed him in one breath and whispered awe in the next. He had the best eye in the history of the sport. He didn't swing at balls. He surgically removed them from consideration. When he did swing, the ball disappeared. He hit 762 home runs, and each one felt like it came from another dimension. Before the bulk, he was already a Hall of Famer, a 40-40 guy, 8 Gold Gloves, a 5-tool nightmare. But after the transformation, he became a myth, a comic book character with forearms and bat speed that shouldn't have coexisted. The steroids? Yeah, they were there. But the real question isn't was he clean, it's would it have mattered? Bonds didn't want to be loved. He didn't play to charm you. He scowled, dominated, and dared you to look away, and somehow you never could. He made baseball feel unfair, not because he cheated, but because he was that good. Pitchers called facing him hopeless. Commentators ran out of superlatives. Even the league didn't know how to market him, so they tried not to. He broke the game and built a new one in his image. If superstardom is about numbers, power, fear, and control, then Bonds wasn't a superstar. He was the inevitable conclusion of what one man can do to a sport. Derek Jeter. No player ever maximized timing, market, and mystique like Derek Jeter. He wasn't the best shortstop of his era, he wasn't the flashiest hitter, but when the lights came on in October, he was inevitable. He played 20 seasons in the Bronx under a microscope and never flinched. The New York media chewed up superstars. Jeter smiled, hit .310, and won 5 rings. He was a master of the moment, the flip play in Oakland, the walk-off against the Orioles, the dive into the stands. He never hit 40 home runs, never won an MVP. But he owned the moments that mattered. Off the field, he was the clean-cut king of the tabloids. Dated supermodels, wrote thank you notes, ran his own narrative. No scandals, no drama, just perfectly timed professionalism. He wasn't flashy, he was familiar. Fans trusted him, teammates respected him, managers never had to worry. Jeter didn't dominate with stats. He dominated the story, the jump throw, the number 2 jersey, the captain, the final walk-off at Yankee Stadium. Scripted like Hollywood, executed like routine. He was the face of a dynasty, and in an era clouded by steroids and cynicism, he stayed clean and profitable. Critics said he was overrated, his ring said otherwise. If superstardom is about trust, visibility, and delivering when everyone's watching, then Derek Jeter didn't just fit the mold, he polished it. Alex Rodriguez. Baseball's ultimate paradox. Alex Rodriguez had everything: the body, the numbers, the swing, the endorsements. He hit 696 home runs, won 3 MVPs, played Gold Glove defense at shortstop and third base. And yet, he never escaped the shadow he helped cast. A-Rod wasn't just a superstar, he was a case study in superstardom. He wanted to be liked, needed to be loved, and sabotaged both, repeatedly. He took the biggest contract in sports history, twice. Left Seattle a hero, landed in Texas a stat-padding machine, then arrived in New York, moved off shortstop to play next to Jeter, and became a lightning rod. He was the best player in the world and the least trusted. The PEDs, the suspensions, the lawsuits, the anonymous quotes, the awkward interviews. He created more headlines off the field than on it, until he finally started rewriting his story, and somehow he did. He became baseball's most unlikely comeback. Broadcasting icon, self-aware punchline, Instagram boyfriend. He leaned into the chaos and America let him back in. If Jeter was the dream, A-Rod was the reality. Brilliant, insecure, messy, magnetic. He didn't ask for your forgiveness. He earned your curiosity, because with A-Rod, the game was never just about numbers. It was about narrative. He was a walking contradiction and one of the most talented players to ever hold a bat. If superstardom is about talent, tension, attention, and redemption, then A-Rod didn't just live it, he embodied it every complicated inning of the way. There's no billion-dollar media company behind this, just a few baseball nerds making something we wish existed. Subscribe and you're not just a viewer, you're the reason we get to keep making this. Ichiro Suzuki. Like a samurai in cleats, Ichiro didn't just play baseball, he studied it, redefined it, and made it look easy. He was elegance without effort, swagger without noise, skill without showmanship. When he came to the US in 2001, he wasn't just a rookie, he was a test case. Could Japanese hitters succeed in MBL? Could his swing translate? Could his game hold up? He didn't answer those questions with words. He answered them with 242 hits, a batting title, a Gold Glove, Rookie of the Year, and MVP, all in his first season. He didn't just arrive, he announced a new era. By the time he retired, Ichiro had over 4,300 hits in professional baseball, the most anyone has ever had. It didn't come with home run records or highlight reel dunks. It came with relentless precision. His swing, unorthodox. His power, irrelevant. His results, undeniable. He turned infield singles into works of art. He made bunting look like a game of chess. He ran like a whisper, threw like a sniper, and caught fly balls with the grace of a dancer and the intent of a thief. While everyone else chased launch angle and uppercut swings, Ichiro stayed true to a form that looked like it came from a scroll. He'd hit soft grounders and beat them out to first, then launch moonshots in BP just to remind people he could. But Ichiro wasn't just a player, he was a ritual. He bowed to umpires, adjusted his gloves the exact same way before every pitch, practiced his swing in the outfield between plays like he was meditating. And through it all, he spoke little, let the routine speak for him. He stayed fast into his 40s, still played with intent, still demanded respect without asking for it. He was Japan's greatest baseball export, and one of MLB's most singular stars. Kids didn't just want to hit like him, they wanted to be him. And yet no one could quite replicate what made him special. If superstardom is about charisma, consistency, and commanding a game without raising your voice, then Ichiro wasn't just a superstar, he was a discipline, a masterclass in how greatness doesn't always have to be loud, it just has to be impossible to ignore. Albert Pujols, the Machine, not a nickname, a diagnosis. From the moment Albert Pujols stepped onto a big league field in 2001, he looked like he'd been there a decade. For his first 11 seasons in St. Louis, he wasn't just great, he was automatic. 330 average, 40 home runs, 120 RBIs, Gold Glove defense every single year. He didn't slump, he didn't flinch, he didn't miss. Pitchers tried everything, nothing worked. He punished mistakes and respected good pitches, but if you left one up, it was gone before you blinked. Pujols wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy. He ran out every ground ball, he kept his helmet on for post-game interviews. He played like a superstar who had nothing to prove, and yet proved it constantly. When he left St. Louis for the Angels, the numbers dipped. The contract got louder than the stats. But even as his prime faded, the milestones kept piling up. 600 home runs, 3,000 hits, 2,000 RBIs. By the time he retired, only a few names were even in his statistical orbit. Ruth, Mays, Aaron. He didn't need swagger, he had weight. Every at-bat felt inevitable. Every swing looked the same. Short, compact, devastating. He came back to St. Louis for one final season in 2022 and hit 24 home runs at age 42. Because of course he did. If superstardom is about sustained greatness, quiet dominance, and the kind of numbers that feel unfair once you stack them all up, then Albert Pujols wasn't just a superstar, he was a guarantee. Clayton Kershaw, the regular season Picasso, the postseason question mark. For years, that was the paradox of Clayton Kershaw. He dominated the mound with quiet fury, a looping curveball that dropped off cliffs, a high fastball that danced just enough to miss barrels, and a slider that whispered, "You have no shot." 3 Cy Young awards, an MVP as a pitcher, ERA titles stacked like trophies. He was the best pitcher of his generation, and somehow it wasn't even close. But October, that was the ghost. He gave up leads, watched bullpens implode behind him, tipped pitches, got second guessed. And the narrative hardened, regular season god, postseason liability. It wasn't fair, it wasn't entirely true, but it stuck. He wore the blame because he was supposed to be the reason they won. And when they didn't, it always came back to him, whether or not it should have. Then came 2020, the bubble, the chaos, the wait of years. Kershaw pitched, he battled, he won. A World Series title, finally. The narrative flipped, the arc closed. He didn't need the ring to prove greatness, but man, did it feel right. He's not the fireballer he once was. The stuff is quieter now, the margin thinner. But he's still out there, still dealing, still reinventing himself pitch by pitch. If superstardom is about talent, yes, but also about pressure, pain, and persistence, Then Clayton Kershaw didn't just survive the story, he rewrote it. Mike Trout. The ghost of superstardom, Mike Trout might be the best player of the 21st century, and somehow that sentence still feels like an opinion. He hits for power, runs like a safety, plays Gold Glove defense, walks, homers, never complains, never headlines. He does everything right, and almost no one sees it. His WAR totals break leaderboards. His stats, especially in his prime, rival Mays, Mantle, and Bonds. But while those guys had legacy-defining moments, Trout has Tuesday night against the Mariners. No deep October runs, no postseason walk-offs, just 162 games of elite, unsung dominance. And it's not his fault. He's played his entire career with the Angels, a franchise that hasn't built a competent roster around him since his debut in 2011. 1 playoff series, 3 games. That's it. He didn't chase spotlight, he didn't craft a brand. He shows up, hits 300, drops bombs, signs autographs, leaves. He's either the most complete player of the era or the most underexposed. Depends who's watching, or if they're watching at all. Kids don't imitate his swing, TV networks don't fight for his games. But baseball people, they know. Mike Trout isn't flashy, he's a metronome with elite tools. Quiet, durable, dominant, lost in plain sight. If superstardom is about visibility, maybe he doesn't qualify. But if it's about mastery, pure, generational, undeniable mastery, then Mike Trout isn't just a superstar, he's a tragedy of missed moments, and the best to never have his. Shohei Otani. What if Babe Ruth had better training, modern nutrition, and fluent English? Shohei Otani isn't a two-way player, he's a one-man revolution. He throws 100 with movement, hits 450-foot bombs with ease, steals bases like a leadoff guy, and he does all of it with the kind of calm that feels alien. He's not just breaking records, he's breaking roles. The sport had rules, defined lanes, pitchers pitch, hitters hit. Otani looked at all that and said, why not both? He won an MVP while leading the league in home runs and striking out 200 batters. It doesn't make sense on paper. It barely makes sense in video games. He isn't just talented, he's impossible. And yet, there he is, jogging around the bases like it's nothing, smiling through translators, giving polite post-game interviews like he didn't just rewrite physics. Pitchers fear him, hitters admire him, fans in every city cheer for him, even when he's playing against them. And somehow, despite the pressure, the global spotlight, the contract chatter, he stays humble. No antics, no drama, just domination. He's bigger than the team, bigger than the league, and yet every time he takes the mound or the box, it feels personal, singular. We've never seen anything like him, and probably never will again. If superstardom is about rewriting what we thought was possible, then Shohei Otani isn't just the face of baseball, he's the future, now. Juan Soto. He grinds at bats like they owe him rent. Juan Soto doesn't swing wildly, he stalks pitches. His eye at the plate is already historic. At 20 years old, he was walking like Bonds and hitting like Manny. His strike zone isn't just tight, it's sacred, and pitchers hate it. He doesn't chase, he doesn't flinch, he dares you to throw him a strike. And when you do, he flips the bat, struts down the line, and smiles like he saw it coming last week. In 2019, he won a World Series before he could legally rent a car. He stared down Justin Verlander on national TV. Then he beat him with swagger and ferocity that looked like it belonged to someone with 3 MVPs. He dances in the batter's box, talks to himself between pitches, steps out, steps back in. It's not antics, it's intimidation. He's still in his early 20s, still writing his story, but it already feels thick with legacy. He's not just a star in the making, he's a problem, now. He hasn't hit his peak, that's the terrifying part. He's already won a ring, already led the league in walks. And somehow, the numbers feel like just the start. He doesn't need to yell, his swing does the talking, he doesn't need to prove anything, but plays like he does. If superstardom is a mix of plate discipline, playoff heroics, and the kind of presence that makes fans lean forward every pitch, then Juan Soto isn't rising. He's already arrived. You made it to the end. That means you're our kind of viewer. Subscribing helps us keep making more without cutting corners or chasing trends. Think of it like buying peanuts at the ballpark, where small move, big support. Regardless, superstardom in baseball doesn't last. It flickers, it flares, and just as quickly, it fades. One injury, one slump, one shift in the spotlight, and you go from face of the league to forgotten. But when it hits, it's everything. Kids copy your batting stance in the mirror. Fans show up early just to see you take batting practice. Pitchers adjust entire scouting reports around you. The crowd holds its breath. The moment feels heavier. Because when a true superstar steps to the plate, the whole game tilts. You don't need the best stats. You don't need the cleanest resume. You need gravity, that magnetic pull that makes everyone, even your critics, stop and watch. Some players chase it their whole careers and never quite get there. Others fall into it by accident and try to run from the noise. And a rare few, they wear it like armor, like purpose, like destiny. Baseball doesn't hand out immortality easily. It demands sacrifice. It demands presence. It demands moments. Not just games, chapters, stories that echo. And for a while, just a while, the game stops being about rules or records or rivalries. It becomes about you, the player that made the crowd stand, the pitcher that made the ninth inning feel final. The face on the poster, the name in the box score, the one who made us feel something more than just stats. That's what makes a superstar. Not perfection, not longevity, but impact. And every one of these players, in their own way, didn't just play the game, they became it.